going to continue this. I actually did a look at this segment on it not too long ago. Believe this is going to dead end into a gate if the suspect continues. This is a private driveway, and here it is, getting into that area, and they're realizing it, spinning back around and evading LAPD, and now headed back southbound. There was that gate right there, the huge Hummingbird Ranch, and now headed back towards the 118 here. A lot of desperation. I think I just saw a little bit of smoke coming out of the tires here. I should mention, too, these vehicles are very popular for modifying, for souping up. Not sure if this vehicle is or not. As it stands as kind of a base model, these vehicles are not terribly capable. They're, little economy cars and definitely not built to be driven like this.
It's interesting, Susie, we see that time and time again when it comes to these pursuits. A number of cruisers behind this driver goes into a cul-de-sac and they let him go out. A number of people may think that, why are they doing that? Why aren't they getting their vehicle in front? But obviously that is standard operating procedure. That is protocol. They're not going to let that driver T-bone them and injure them with the vehicle.
Exactly. Like, why not pit maneuver them there? Why not a spike strip? But, with a spike strip, obviously, it takes a long time. And if they're not familiar with the pattern yet of where this driver is going or headed, it's hard to do that.
And a lot of times you have to have somebody in place that is pit maneuver endorsed, if you will, somebody that knows how to do that. And so you have to have that person in place, and they may not necessarily have that person in place in the vehicle right there at that time. So they're going to have to probably wait that out. But Des, that was one of the examples that we've seen time and again of getting into a cul-de-sac and then allowing that driver to continue out. And we know that's all really because of safety, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They want to minimize putting officers in danger as well. Unclear if this person is armed or what they may be capable of. They don't want to be getting into a head-on collision or a T-bone wreck that could injure the suspect as well as the officer. So here we are back on Santa Susana Pass Road, doubling back again towards the San Fernando Valley, back on this fairly dangerous road, at least at this time of night with no headlights on, onto the wrong side of the road.
My goodness.
For a second, and now you see with the spotlight back on, this is officially a pursuit. They just gave the helicopter the go-ahead to put that spotlight back on, but you see now going on the wrong side of the road for absolutely no reason at all. This is just a really crazy situation with this little late model Honda Civic hatchback here. Flying around the dark streets here of the Santa Susana Pass.
If you're just joining us here on KCAL 9 News at 10, this is breaking news. The LAPD pursuing a person who is driving a stolen car. We believe this is the driver of a Honda Civic hatchback. The person was going down Topanga Canyon at 80 miles per hour when we first got above this chase with no lights on, and that is still the case, still no headlights. It was in tracking mode for a minute with the LAPD, where they actually back off their ground units and keep the chopper above, just because this person was driving so recklessly and so dangerously and fast down even surface streets. And now this dangerous situation we have here, even going on the wrong side of the road, as you see, you're kind of splitting the lanes even. We have no idea where this person is going, but they did make a U-turn, if you will, what they had to, because it was a cul-de-sac that actually they ran into, and then the officers went into that cul-de-sac with them and obviously had to come back out. But it looks like that was another officer, perhaps going in the opposite direction.
For sure, yeah. You see a number of cruisers off to the side of the road. This is a very rural area. We understand Simi Valley Police also have been called in. This is LAPD, the original agency, if you will, that's in pursuit of this as they go around a corner. And I've been up and down this road a few times myself. It is one of those, if you lose control, Des, you can maybe kind of expand on this. If you lose control, there are a lot of rocks. It's steep terrain. There's some canyons around there. He needs to be pretty gingerly in his driving around some of these corners, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. I've driven this road many times, and as I zoom in, you can see there's not guardrail everywhere. So again, if this driver's not paying attention, or this vehicle gives out and he takes that turn a little bit too fast, it is very possible that this driver could go off the cliff, and that's pretty big drop right there. So officers are aware of that, and you see that they have their spotlight on as well, and we're just widening out here because getting behind the mountain a little bit. But we'll be getting back into the Chatsworth area and off of this road. And you can see it does seem like the driver's actually slowed down to a much more manageable speed, probably, for the reasons I was just talking about. But the spotlight on from the air as well as the ground. And it may, seem kind of ironic, but, LAPD basically helping this person so that they don't go flying off the cliff because they don't want to have their headlights on. They may try to get some spike strips somehow. It might be kind of difficult based on how this person is driving, but you saw the officer going the opposite direction there over the pass, and that just gives you an idea that they're in place in lots of different areas. So maybe if we get back out onto Topanga Canyon, we may see spike strips come into play.
Yeah, you just wonder, where this person is going to go, how this is going to come to an end. Obviously, a very dangerous situation right now, and officers are not letting this one go. Oftentimes, even with stolen car pursuits, we've seen them driving so fast, so radically that the LAPD or whoever is chasing this person will actually back off completely or say, you know what, we're going to relinquish this pursuit. We are done because we're not trying to put the safety of the public in danger, as well as the officers, as well as this person who's driving this car. As you can see, we're talking about them shining lights for them to make sure they don't have any accidents in the dark here, because as you can see, these are windy and narrow roads, stopping a little bit, braking there for a little curb and a person passing by. But outside of that, my goodness, this has been just dangerous driving, Jeff.
And no headlights. It's just unbelievable. He's driving. Obviously, these rural roads here don't have the street lamps as we come into some traffic. And Des, you want to take it from here? Well, we got a car that was disabled there.
They actually had.
Wow.
They had a very well laid out spike strip right there. I couldn't tell if they hit it or not. Kind of went around that vehicle, but the officers had that. They knew that Santa Susana Pass Road ends at Topanga Canyon, that the driver would have no choice but to come down there towards Topanga. So they had the spike strip out there laid out. I just couldn't quite tell if it made contact. We'll see if we hear any radio chatter from them saying if it was a good spike or not. But now the speed's way back up there, up to almost 90 miles an hour, southbound on Topanga. So coming back to the area where we were. And this is a major road, but it's not a freeway. But this person driving like it into the center lane. I just think of all the people that are out here right now that would not be able to see this person coming so fast. You know what? I think that spike might have been good. I think man, it seems like I might be seeing a little bit of smoke coming out of the back. It might be from that rear driver's side tire. And if they're going to continue at this speed, without one of those tires, wow, right in between.
Right in
Such
between
a close one right there.
Just splitting the
That
V.
was the closest call we've seen. And at about 65 miles an hour.
With no headlights.
Just insane. And now we're talking about this person possibly being down one of their 4 tires on top of these crazy speeds.
I'm with you there, Des. If there's a chance that we can get the director and producer to bring an inset box and show that, I think we might be able to catch, Susie, if there was a spike strip or not, as they had to go and maneuver between those 2 vehicles.
Yeah.
And if it did go over one of those spike strips, then we certainly hope that that'll disable the vehicle, slow this down, and this all comes to a halt and nobody gets hurt.
Yeah, and as we work on that video that Jeff was just alluding to, we were talking about spike strips and how difficult it is for officers to do something like that. Not difficult, but it is a challenging situation, especially when it's so fluid like this and moving so fast. They have to be, obviously they got to know which way the suspect is traveling. As we were referring to earlier, they got to deploy a unit far ahead enough, as Desmond was referring to, going in the opposite direction as we saw, and they need to get it out enough to get the spike strip out and in an area where the suspect can't veer around it. So, it's unclear right now. We're still trying to get that video, so maybe we can slow it down a little bit and show you if this person actually went over that spike strip or not. But it's not a situation where the tire is just going to blow out right when they hit the spike strip, obviously. It's kind of like a straw, a hole of a straw size, and, it'll just it'll puncture the tire and slowly make its way out of there. So that's what we're waiting for.
Yeah. Sorry to say we do not have the video, but I would say that safe to say that maybe he did not drive over that spike strip because he's still going 75 miles an hour. Des, he took a big left-hand turn using all the lanes, and thankfully there's no traffic or pedestrians in that intersection because he's going fast, 85 miles an hour now.
Yeah, and the tire does look intact. I thought I saw a little bit of smoke coming out of the rear, but maybe just run over something in the roadway. Look at this, right through that red light right there, and that's just the kind of stuff we were talking about. Now, we actually did just hear apparently LAPD calculating this got way too dangerous for the public, and the watch commander said that's enough, terminate the pursuit. And that means units have backed off. They've turned off their lights and sirens. I don't even think the helicopter is overhead anymore, because we could see where even just the presence of the helicopter, even without the spotlight, can continue to agitate someone. So the hope is that this person just cools off. Unfortunately, if they're going to terminate the pursuit, then they're going to get away this time. But this is in their stolen vehicle database. I feel like we've really been seeing a lot of this lately, and it's just kind of the times that we're living in, because there have been so many of these pursuits that have had really bad endings for innocent people. And so that is why it is no longer that uncommon to see, if it's something that it's just a property crime, like a stolen vehicle, LAPD making the decision, we've had enough, it's too dangerous, we'll get them next time.
We had one last week, Des. I think you might be able to remember that there was one that police were in number behind that pursuit driver, but they were not going nearly as fast as this one, and they were able to engage, but it was a slow driver. This is different. There's a lot of safety issues here. This driver's going very fast. It's night. So rural roads, the danger level is higher, I would say.
Sure, for officers, for the public, for this driver as well. They're certainly not going to do that. I mean, obviously it's a decision that one watch commander has to make and say, you know what, as much as we do want to get to this guy, because they really did, because oftentimes you see them backing off, and they did for a minute, and then they re-engaged, and now they have officially terminated the pursuit. But as you can see, as Desmond is showing us here, this person is still driving recklessly, going on the wrong side of the road, running red lights, driving so fast.
Yeah, and at this point in time, Des, you would think that he would slow down just a bit, and he has. I would assume that those cruisers are back far enough. He's looking in his rearview mirror. He doesn't see the red and blue lights anymore, but you can always bet that they're going to be close by in case this guy decides to bail, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Although if they're not going to have their helicopter overhead, they may not have a very good handle on where this driver is going. But at the moment, we're kind of experiencing the worst of all worlds, because the police are not actively pursuing this person, but they're still driving crazy. Let's see what they do at this intersection. Now, again, just blowing through more red lights. There's absolutely no one behind this person, no one above him. We're keeping our distance as well, so he shouldn't be able to hear us. But still, just the speeds have slowed down a little. I guess we're down to 55. It's better than 85 as we were going on Topanga Canyon, but still pretty crazy. And now we're actually hearing that the police helicopter may still be here. They may be watching from a distance, but now we're southbound on Van Alden. Let's see if this driver is going to ditch the vehicle. This is going to end into a residential area. The street does not go through the Metrolink tracks, so it's going to be a dead end here shortly, unless they turn into, and look at this, might be going into a community. Okay, this looks like a modular home community. And indeed, coming in here, so this is probably where this driver is trying to go. They're hoping probably that they have enough distance on the police that they can get out and run and hide somewhere and get away.
Well, a lot of lights are coming on. Look at that. You wonder if people are seeing us here on KCAL and turn on all their lights, or if it's motion detection or something like that. But Des, it's he's driving around looking for a place to bail, I believe.
Yeah, you wonder if this is where this person lives, or if this is a friend's house, or what this is. Let's hope that they're going to get out of the vehicle right here. Turning down, it looks like this is called Kensington Drive in Oxford Way. So we're in a little community here, no sidewalks. You see just cutting off that vehicle as well. And let's see how far this comes around, or if this street comes to an end. I just really hope this person is going to give it up. Now, back out onto the street.
I guess they was just trying to figure out a place to park or something,
exactly,
huh, Susie?
or go. We thought maybe this person was familiar with this community. Maybe they live there. Maybe they have a friend or a relative that they could maybe hide out with, but apparently not.
Well, you just understand that this is probably something they didn't plan on doing, and they stole a vehicle and didn't plan on the police being right behind them, so there's a little bit of a panic mode. We do have the picture here that we want to show you. On the right-hand part of your screen, Susie, we think that they probably avoided a spike strip, right?
Yeah, that's what we think, because by now we feel like we should have seen the effects of that spike strip, but we don't believe that they did, but came so close to that car.
And as you mentioned, it's so hard for officers to get in that position, because they could go one way or the other as we continue to follow this police pursuit of a stolen vehicle. The driver there wanted for stealing this vehicle all kind of started with us near the top of the hour, basically in Woodland Hills, and then now up into, I guess this would probably be Northridge, is it now? It was up in Chatsworth near it. And Des, go ahead, take it from there.
Yep. No, I was just going to concur. Yeah, we're getting ready to go by my alma mater of CSUN here. We're at Nordhoff and Reseda right now. Actually stopping at this red light. Probably has to because Reseda is a pretty busy street. This is a really busy commercial area. I'm just thinking, you would think that this driver, I mean, obviously logic not their strong suit, but you would think they've gotten away with so much at this point. They got away from the police. They didn't fly off of a mountain. They didn't spin out. They didn't hit anyone. So folks that are out here will be able to see this person coming.
And do you see any LAPD officers or units near you, even the chopper?
None around. I believe the chopper is still down there somewhere. My pilot Dylan concurring that yes, their helicopter is there. I don't believe they're directly overhead. I'm sure they're watching from a distance the way we are. They have a similar camera system to us. They're able to look from a distance, and they also have infrared technology on their helicopters as well. So we'll see if they end up deploying that. But just zooming back out as we head eastbound on Roscoe Boulevard, absolutely no police presence from the ground around this person.
Well, I really got to give you credit, Des. You're staying right on top of this with all the different angles with our camera, and as this driver continues to really not see what they're doing. It's one of those ad-lib situations. Susie, you see this all the time. They're probably in an area they're not necessarily familiar with and trying to figure out a place to escape or a place to get away, and probably confused after police were hot on the trail and then all of a sudden backed off.
Yeah, they've been driving for about 30 minutes right now. If that wasn't a full tank, we're going to be running out of gas sometime at some point tonight, obviously. So hopefully that's going to happen soon and officers can get to this person. But right now, as Desmond was talking about, no officers behind this person, perhaps an LAPD helicopter in the air. Looks like they're maybe coming to a stop.
Okay, Des, take it from here. He stopped.
Yeah. I think so. Oh, look at that. The
Bingo.
LAPD spotlight right on it. And now out of the vehicle, saw someone go running right there. Into the house. I think that it was this suspect. Nope, it was not. Or maybe they might have, I was wondering if there was someone else in the car. I thought I might have seen a passenger, so I'm wondering if they were dropping someone off. But you see LAPD, they were right there, ready with the spotlight as soon as they came to a stop. So obviously they're still aware of the presence. I'm just concerned that this is going to, kind of reinvigorate this person to drive crazy again. But
I still see the passenger.
We're definitely stopping there for something.
Yeah, I still see the passenger there.
Yeah,
I believe that was just a pedestrian or somebody that was trying to bail out once the spotlight hit him. It looked like a woman in pink shorts that kind of ran out of the way. Obviously, she knew that with the chopper overhead that there was some sort of police activity, maybe got inside real quick. But it appears there is still a passenger in the front seat. Wouldn't you agree, Susie?
I would definitely agree. You can see that person maybe wearing a white shirt, possibly.
Right.
A light colored shirt, that's for sure. But that's the first time we're actually seeing who is possibly inside this car. I mean, how many occupants? It's unclear if there's someone in the back seat, but certainly there's someone in that passenger seat.
Well, police have really put them on notice that they are still following them. That was a great job by LAPD and the helicopter to kind of go covert, if you will. Then all of a sudden, when they put on the brakes and put it in park, then the spotlight showed up and it lit them up. And boy, Des, that was really quick work from them and good work on your behalf as well to be there to have that shot as the spotlight hit him.
Yeah, it's really difficult sometimes when you have a dark car with no headlights on a dark street, as that one was, and you have to wonder who that person was in the front yard because they went running back in the house as soon as they saw that spotlight. So it must have been, you would think, probably affiliated with this person, unless they were just watching it on KCAL and saw them come out into their neighborhood and they got kind of spooked by that spotlight. But perhaps a connection there between the suspect and whoever was inside that house. Going back north on Reseda Boulevard, back up towards CSUN and towards the 118. Covered a lot of ground. We first heard about this on the 101 back in Sherman Oaks, right around the 405. And then LAPD tried to pull them over, I think, in the Encino area, and that was when we saw the crazy speeds. By the time we caught up to him, it was already almost up towards Chatsworth, and now we're headed back towards Chatsworth, northbound on Reseda, and just kind of concerned there might be, a lot of pedestrians. Pretty sure CSUN is back in session right now. Might have students out here getting a late dinner or something like that, even though it is getting kind of late at night. This is definitely a pedestrian-friendly area, fairly dense area. Fortunately, not seeing too much in the way of traffic right here, but still, up about 55 miles an hour. And just have to wonder what LAPD's next move is going to be, if they're going to re-engage at some point, or if they're just going to kind of play this cat and mouse game with the helicopter and try to nab them later.
So when the LAPD is in tracking mode, which it looks like they are again, they are going to keep that chopper overhead and back off those ground units. But when this is happening, not to give away too much, but the LAPD units, those black and whites, are nearby. They're not just, back at HQ. They are standing nearby so that the chopper pilot can call them into wherever he or she is. So this person, obviously, they thought maybe for a minute that they had evaded police altogether and maybe this chase was over. But as soon as they saw that nightlight, the sun gun, light them up once again, they thought, oh boy, back off with the headlights again and back into the mode of driving fast and veering around cars and driving in the middle center lane there and just driving recklessly again.
Yeah, this is now at Reseda Boulevard and LaMarche. This is going to be in Northridge. This all started in Woodland Hills. Pursuit of a driver wanted for a stolen vehicle. We believe there's a passenger. This is an older model Honda hatchback, and certainly has been pushed to its limits at one point in time, going above 85 miles an hour. No headlights. At times there were headlights, but obviously going through a lot of red lights. One point in time going up Topanga Canyon, up into the Chatsworth area, swung over to westbound 118 Santa Susana Pass Road, and then back over to Topanga Canyon, where we are right now. One point in time, Susie, going into, it appeared to be a mobile home park. Drove around. We thought maybe they were going to bail at that point, but they did not, and then drove to another area. And then the police were on top of him, lickety-split, with that helicopter, and the night sun flashed right on top of him. And that's when we were able to see that appeared to be also a passenger in this vehicle.
Yeah, we do believe there was a spike strip attempt at one point during the pursuit. If we can bring that video up one more time just to show you. But it looked like the person veered around it. Obviously, that's not what the LAPD wants to happen. But, if they can see it, here it is on the right side of your screen. You're going to see it in just a second here. There it is. We believe that's where they veered around that spike strip, almost clipping that car and making that wide right turn.
Yeah, and you wonder that police car was off to the side. That was the officer that was deploying the spike strips. But then there was another vehicle right in between the cars. Oh man, it's so close. Once again, going through another intersection with a red light. But going back to that attempted spike strip there that they threw out onto the road, I wonder what that vehicle was with the hazards on in front of them. I guess maybe they were trying to get them to veer to the left to go over the spike strips, which was a great idea. But for some reason, somehow, this driver was able to get around it without going over the spike strip, as we continue with this pursuit here live on KCAL 9.
Well, Desmond, this is another dark road. It looks like their headlights are off once again. It's so funny that we were talking about his behavior because, every time they knew that the LAPD was behind them, those lights are off and they're driving recklessly. And then before, Desmond, we were talking about how the LAPD backed off and their lights were back on. Desmond, are you with us? All right, looks like Desmond doesn't hear us right now.
Sorry about that, Jeff.
No,
Susie,
not at all.
yeah,
no, we were talking about his behavior.
And you saw just the most dangerous maneuver right there along Reseda going through Rinaldi, and fortunately, folks there were really paying attention and slammed on the brakes. And that's just this guy not slowing down hardly at all, going through solid red lights. It's just insane. As we go up to a nice residential area here, going up to the very top of Reseda, up towards Reseda and Cessnon, up near Palisades Park. This is a really nice, quiet neighborhood, but the Reseda is going to end right up here at Cessnon, and we'll see. Well, the driver will basically have to make a left. If they make a right, Cessnon doesn't go all the way through, and they're going to head back towards Northridge and Tampa Avenue. Very familiar with this area. There's not going to be too many people out here at this time of night, but still, with the headlights off, and indeed now eastbound on Cessnon. This takes us back towards the Porter Ranch area, and LAPD is still down there, but it's just baffling why this person continues. They had a couple of good opportunities to get out of the car. Obviously, LAPD knows this vehicle is stolen. If you're going to if you were even able to get away with this vehicle tonight, you're probably not going to in the future. Is it really worth it? You've already gotten away with so much. Just get out of the vehicle. Probably could escape with their freedom tonight and just end the danger to the public.
Yeah.
It's baffling and just really frustrating how this continues.
Well, it just makes you think that they don't know exactly where they are. Maybe they stole this a long ways away from where they are now, and obviously this was picked up by police at some point in time as a stolen vehicle. It could be a situation where they just don't know where to bail out or have any way to get back to wherever they want to go, and that's a situation where we see this time and time again. Susie, a pursuit driver, just kind of ad-libbing, if you will,
Sure.
just kind of going around in circles and trying to figure things out, and we appear to be in that same situation tonight. A driver behind the wheel of this older model Honda hatchback. We do understand there's a passenger as well. I talked to the assignment desk just moments ago, and we do not think at that stop that occurred earlier when overhead the LAPD chopper lit it up with the night sun, that anybody bailed out at that point in time. So we believe just the two inside the vehicle stayed in the vehicle. We did see that woman that kind of ran towards a yard. We think probably that was just somebody there in the area and then saw that police activity and then probably ran inside. So we don't have any confirmation that anybody bailed out. We're not hearing that police stayed behind to, to try to apprehend anybody. And so that's kind of the latest at this point in time.
Yeah, Desmond was talking about how this person, they can just pull over, let this all be over, and the basic charge in all of this is going to be felony evading. How many red lights they ran, how fast they were driving, that will of course all be articulated in that police report. However, even so, including erratic driving under felony evading, but that's basically the charge, felony evading and stealing a car.
Yeah, grand theft auto, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Des, we're getting to an area. This looks like it's a pretty rural area. Oh, they're going to stop. They're going to turn around. A little bit of construction, I see.
Yeah, I think the driver may be thinking better of that. That's a new development in Porter Ranch, just west of Corbin off of Cessna. And I think the driver realized that that street doesn't go through, and so they turned back around. But just kind of zooming in, I know it's kind of dark, but just wanted to get a better look there. And indeed, you can for sure see someone in the passenger seat there. Looks like they might have had a pink shirt on or something. So now we're southbound on Mason Avenue, and this will take us back towards Rinaldi and the 118. So really just very aimless at this point, and still seeing some, speeds at about 50, 60 miles an hour, which is an improvement from what we saw earlier, up to 85 or close to 90 miles an hour on Topanga Canyon. I just wonder how many more risks this person wants to take when they've already basically been given the opportunity from LAPD to get away tonight, to just leave the car and have a pretty good shot at getting away. So, what is the game plan for this person?
Well, we're not getting as much information since LAPD called off this pursuit, but of course they still have the helicopter overhead. And we have ours as well, because that is something we want to see how this all ends. And there's still a lot of probability and possibility there that somebody could get injured as they drive very recklessly, very fast. No headlights through these dark streets in this area all the way up in the Porter Ranch now.
Yeah, and this is a pursuit of a stolen vehicle. We believe that this started around the 101 freeway area in Sherman Oaks near the 405 freeway. We don't know where this car was stolen from, but as Desmond was talking about, we've covered a lot of ground, and this person has not run out of gas yet. The spike strip that was deployed earlier, we believe, apparently did not work on this car, and this person continues to drive without their headlights on, making a crazy left turn there as well. Looks like it's a little brighter here in this area, that's for sure, thank goodness. But that's the screen. On the right side of the screen is what you're looking at, what we were just talking about going around that spike strip and almost clipping that car as they were making that wide right turn. Right now, though, this person is going at a high rate of speed again, without their lights on, and we believe only the LAPD chopper is overhead. But again, mind you, the LAPD ground units are nearby somewhere, so they're really trying to get this person tonight.
Boy, typical LA traffic. This is surface street, probably 45 miles per hour, and the pursuit vehicle is doing 65, yet you still see a driver go past that. right next to the pursuit driver. So typical sort of LA driving, but this guy is going through a number of red lights, intersections blindly. Thankfully hasn't hit anybody yet, but has obviously had a couple of very close calls going in between vehicles as we approach another intersection completely red. It just amazes me how they go through these intersections and don't even tap on the brakes. And thankfully, nobody is there for them to crash into. I mean, it's just like somebody's watching over these people.
Yeah, it's incredible. And we see that so often, too. We just hold our breath every time they run these red lights and go through these huge intersections.
There's
just another one right there.
It's just amazing. It just gives you just such anxiety to see somebody that is going that fast through an intersection with no attempt to slow down or to even see if there's any traffic in that large intersection. So this is the latest pursuit. LAPD at one point in time was behind the driver of a stolen vehicle. 2 people inside this older Honda hatchback. No lights as they drive now at Porter Ranch area. It started, as Susie mentioned a few minutes ago, the 101-405 area in Sherman Oaks, kind of wound its way up Topanga Canyon, onto the westbound 118, onto Santa Susana Pass Road, back to Topanga Canyon, and that is where we are again. LAPD decided to back off after this driver got a little aggressive, and they were unsuccessful with that spike strip deployment.
Yeah, so they terminated the pursuit with their ground units, with their black and whites, but they continued with their airship. We thought at one point maybe the airship was even gone as they called off the pursuit, but as soon as that person went into a community and we thought maybe they might be stopping right there, Johnny on the spot was the LAPD chopper. So they're definitely still there, you know, and they watched this person drive, and, you know, as a police officer, it must be so hard to be in a situation, you know, like we saw in that cul-de-sac, where obviously, you know, if they're pit certified and they're ready to do it, it's like, come on, let's go for it. But they need to get the approval of a supervisor first. There are many different things that need to happen before anything like that happens. Obviously, many factors, of course. You know, is it a pit safe area? You know, is there going to be enough? Is there enough space so that when they spin that car around, it's not going to hit anyone else or any other officers? And obviously, that was a pretty tight corridor where they're, you know, possibly maybe thinking about it. Who knows?
Well, there were 6 cruisers behind him, and you know, we've had CHP here at the studios to tell us a little bit about their pursuit and their protocol and what they do, and that was a good example of there were enough units nearby that if you were to pit maneuver them and it slammed it into another unit, then that endangers police officers. Even though it was a pretty vacant area, it's still one of those things that they have to think of and think about how they have to do this with just the moment-to-moment decisions that they have to make. And they made a decision to no longer pursue this vehicle because the driver was getting very aggressive.
Running more red lights, Desmond.
Yeah, just continuing to press their luck out here on Rinaldi. Very light traffic out here this evening as we head eastbound into Granada Hills. We'll be at Balboa, another busy intersection here shortly. And I'm just blowing right through here at Rinaldi and Luis. And again, just not even slowing down. I wonder what the passenger's role is in this. If they're terrified, if they're just in it with this person. You know, when they made that stop, I was almost wondering if it was to drop off the passenger or something, or is this person advising them on something, egging them on? I really wonder what's going through that person's mind right now. Now, my pilot Dylan's saying that he can actually see a ground presence here farther back there as we go through Balboa. Again, another red light. Unfortunately, no one there to slam into this person. But they may actually be paralleling this person on the freeway right now. Just kind of keeping in the area, and some units that are maybe about a half-mile back. The LAPD chopper up there communicating with everyone as well, seeing you know, if they have enough units in place or at least kind of nearby if this person does decide to ditch their vehicle. But it's just been totally aimless as we head to the East San Fernando Valley, and out of Granada Hills we'll be towards Mission Hills and the 405 freeway in no time.
Well, we certainly have seen police cruisers basically even after they stop at pursuit to stand by. I mean, you know that they're monitoring this, and they're making sure that if something happens, the way that he's going through these red lights at these intersections, he could very easily T-bone somebody. And if that is the case, then those police officers are standing by to get there as quick as they can to provide any sort of life-saving aid to anybody that may be injured, and of course to put that person in custody.
That's for sure. If you're just joining us here on KCAL 9 News at 10, this is breaking news. We've been following this pursuit for the good part of almost an hour now. This person driving very fast down San Fernando Valley streets. We've been watching this pursuit, as Jeff was talking about, going all the way up to the 101 near the 405 and then up near Northridge. And here we are in Granada Hills right now, where we've been traveling without lights, and the LAPD, we believe there are some ground units, but pretty far ahead back just to, again, alleviate that pressure. They don't want to be right behind this person. From lessons learned earlier, obviously, this person was driving recklessly and driving very fast, blowing through those red lights, making those wide turns, coming so close to clipping so many cars at so many times.
Gas
now
station.
driving into a gas station, you just wonder if they're going to stop or maybe just use it as a quick thoroughfare to get to the other part of the street.
They're just cutting the corner here, Des, or they? There's a unit right there. Take it, Des.
Yeah, that was CHP right there. Kind of interesting. I didn't know that they were involved in this at all here on Rinaldi. There was another unit right there, so that's kind of an interesting wrinkle, and they had their lights on as well. There's another one right there. Wonder what communication's going on between LAPD and CHP right now, but now we just doubled back east. A weird maneuver there going into a gas station, wondering if this person's getting low on gas. It almost kind of looked like they were going to pull in, and they may have seen the CHP pulling up and then decided to make the U-turn. So once again, narrowly evading officers. That's twice now where they've basically gotten right in the officer's face and zoomed right by them as they made a U-turn earlier in Simi Valley when this driver hit a dead end off of Cooner and then turned back around. So back towards Granada Hills and the Northridge area on Rinaldi, and just kind of curious. This is, I think, the longest, well, except maybe Topanga Canyon, but this is pretty close to the longest that this driver has been on any single street.
Yeah, we're just learning the CHP is possibly involved now. We haven't seen the CHP involved until this point, as Desmond was just talking about. It has been the LAPD handling this entire pursuit for the good part, again, for about an hour now, as we've been showing you. But it started earlier than that, and it started around the 101 in Sherman Oaks near the 405 and headed up towards Topanga Canyon, and they exited off of Rocky Peak and went into the Santa Susana Pass area and towards Simi Valley. But it looks like the driver really, again, aimlessly driving. You know, we've been talking about the fact that sometimes in pursuits, they'll go back to where they live, where they possibly have a friend or a relative or some place familiar to them so that they can make their way around the streets faster and easier, and they know the different shortcuts and things like that. But it doesn't look like the case in this case.
This appears to be off-the-cuff sort of driving here. But, you know, once you start seeing CHP, you know, we've dealt with them in the past when it comes to pursuits. They tend to shut down pursuits pretty quickly. Most of those CHP officers are PIT certified because they spend a lot of time on the highways, and they're very, very good at ending these pursuits. We just don't know, Des, to what extent that they are involved, if they're the lead agency at this point in time, if LAPD handed it off to CHP, or if they're just monitoring this situation. You may know better than I do about that whole sort of handoff and protocol, but we oftentimes see CHP, once they're involved, they make pretty quick work of these situations.
Yeah, they have a tendency to. We haven't really heard a lot of radio chatter with LAPD any longer on this one, but you know, typically you'll have a dispatcher talk to from LAPD to CHP, and then you'll hear on the CHP's frequency about LAPD requesting them to take over a pursuit, and then if there's a unit nearby, you know, they'll say that, you know, they can get involved in this, and then it really just kind of depends on the situation. It could have even just been that CHP, they could have been out here on a break or something, and they saw this person driving like this with no headlights on, going through red lights, and they're like, what is this maniac doing? And then they, you know, may have just ended up kind of blindly running into this. So that's another possibility here, is we're southbound on White Oak. This section of White Oak is a residential street, a pretty dark one as well. You got trees, darkness, and no headlights. So this is really difficult to follow here. Bear with us, as hopefully we'll come back out into a more well-lit area, coming down to White Oak and Chatsworth now, down to the kind of downtown Granada Hills area.
He's going faster, Des.
Speeds, I mean, in that, yeah, back to 70 miles an hour now. No headlights on a totally dark street. What could this person be thinking?
Well, this is basically what he's been doing throughout this entire pursuit that started at the top of the hour. It's coming up on almost an hour here. The driver of this stolen older model Honda hatchback has been varying speeds anywhere from 35 but all the way up to 85, tickling 90 miles per hour, never having any headlights on these dark streets. And Des, it's interesting because when we started this pursuit, the right rear brake light was working. Now it's not. So you wonder if this is just part of what's happening here with the driver at one point in time having issues with the headlights, now going on to the other side of the road. And Des, you're doing such a great job with a dark vehicle with no headlights into an area where there's really no street lamps, just kind of still keeping track of them. Kudos to you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Jeff. It's definitely difficult. It may have knocked the fuse out of place on that right rear brake light, because you're right, that was working. But we've seen this person swerving around.
He's right behind us. There's the night sun. They're not calling it a pursuit still. The airship's just kind of monitoring his location. He's still here, but just kind of keeping an eye on him. Okay, copy that. 2 minutes out. We're in Northridge, yes. So he's right out your side, Jim. Yeah, it's dark. So 3 o'clock. Go right out your door. All right, perfect. Okay, 10 seconds. Chuck and Colleen, he just pulled over, and you can see the night sun there from the police helicopter now shining on the vehicle. The car itself is a 1994 Toyota. Officers from the LAPD's Devonshire Division started chasing the car about an hour ago because they believed it to be a stolen car. Now we'll play some tape because this has been a very dangerous pursuit. One of the first things that we saw was when he drove into a cul-de-sac and almost got caught, but was able to work his way out of it and continue evading the police to the point where they had to back off completely because it was such a dangerous high-speed chase. And then there was a time when he stopped, just like what you're seeing now, got out of the vehicle, and there we go, driver door opening now as we speak. Driver is out, and it looks like he's gonna run for it. So he's running here through a residential area in the Northridge area of Chase Street and Amastroy Avenue. I'm gonna widen out the shot. I am shooting this in our infrared, which is why the shot looks a little bit red, but you see the night sun there from the police helicopter trying to track this individual and guide some of the ground units who were in the close proximity to try to take him into custody. Now, one of the things that we had heard was that there was a second person in the vehicle, and it did appear to be so from our vantage point. So there very well could still be another person in the vehicle if he didn't already take off running himself. But you can see him there running through the brush of this home, and at this point it is unclear if the driver or passenger have any connection to this community, but this is where they decided to bring this pursuit to an end. And you now see the driver running there trying to get access to this home, which leads me to believe this isn't his house, and he's going to be running here to the next property. Again, the airstrip is overhead so they can clearly see his location, and they're trying to guide officers to try to take him into custody. Yeah, very scary stuff if you live in this community and you see the police helicopter overhead and there's a man running around and he's clearly desperate, trying to avoid the authorities. He's been running from them for the past hour, but you see him there. It looks like he's finally going to be complying. Just on the other side of those trees there, I can see him getting down on the pavement there of that driveway, crossing his legs. His hands are spread wide there on the ground. The airship, I can guarantee you, is making announcements telling him to surrender. But what they need now are ground units. They need some of those officers who were trailing behind to arrive here on location to try to take him into custody. Because again, they had backed off because this was such a dangerous high-speed chase. He was running every single red light that he came up to, every stop sign, high speeds, and eventually coming to a stop here. But again, we're still waiting for those ground units to come into the frame to take this man into custody. But again, what we're hearing is that on the PA system, they are telling him to surrender, and he is doing just that. As far as we know, they're still in the car, and what's interesting is the first time that this driver stopped, the passenger stayed in the car that time too. So what we witnessed during the pursuit actually was that we could see flame coming from inside of the vehicle, which leads us to believe that the passenger was actually smoking as the driver was continuing to avoid the authorities. So as far as we know, that passenger is still in the car. We're listening to the police scanner here to figure out if that person is in custody yet, but again, they're still working to take the driver into custody. Yeah, there's no officers on the ground, but they've got the PA system making those loud and clear announcements, and he's clearly listening. There's the airship, so he's so close that he can definitely hear the message. And the good thing is he is complying. He's down on the driveway of this home here on Oak Park Avenue and Chase Street. But again, we're still waiting for some of those ground officers to come to the location to take him into custody. They weren't directly behind him because it was such a high-speed chase that they had backed off. So some of those officers are now working to get into this Northridge area to try to take this person into custody. Thanks, guys. Arriving finally. There they are, finally. Okay, they got him. I'm gonna see if I can find the car. There it is. I want to see if the passenger's in there. There he is. Okay. Yep. Can you move just a touch to the right, Jim? Okay, cool. I got her. It's actually a woman. Perfect. Desk, driver male in custody, female passenger in custody. She stayed in the car. That is correct. Okay, perfect. Can you keep moving to the right, Jim? So I can clear the tree and have that shot of the car. Northbridge, yes, correct.